Syndicated presents Shep and Shawn, featuring Matt Shepard and Shawn Belegian.
What is going on? He's Matt Shepard. I'm Shawn Belegian, and we're both sitting in air conditioning right now.
We need it. Oh.
Which wasn't the case.
Oh, how many showers did you take?
That was gross. That was like, I'm not joking. I told Lomas Brown I had Gainesville, Florida in my pants. I literally, my crotch, like I was doing the gator chomp. It was just. So we were out at DGC today, thanks to Woodward Sports. Shep did a show. I did a show. Love working with those guys. Great cause out there with Feldman and Mark Wahlberg and just doing great things. And Shep, I love going to DGC. It's just, this hidden gem, right in the middle of a neighborhood and everything. But it was miserable today. I can't tell, was it miserable or was it we had like a really nice fall like week and maybe it seemed worse to us because of that?
Yeah, that's a good point. Now, imagine if we were playing golf. I first of all, you're 100% right with all the people who put that event on for a great cause, but and Detroit Golf Club does a great job of having a lot of events. You and I have been to a number of them, right?
Mm-hmm.
I mean, we'll get the Ted Lindsay one in September.
But
it's tough when you have that many people playing and when it's that humid and warm. The course is great. I'm sure the company's great. The food was fantastic, but it was an uncomfortable feeling as you sat there roasting under the sun. We had Irving Fryar on, who you remember from his New England Patriots and Miami Dolphins days.
Yep.
We had Kenny Anderson on, Georgia Tech, New Jersey Nets, the Boston Celtics. We could go on and on and on. Talked to a lot of different people there. It was really cool. Even we were just dripping wet. And we were under a little canopy. So imagine how hot it would have been out there had we not had something like those cozy confines.
Well, and it's funny you say that because Lomas, as is like from Miami. And he played his college football, at a swamp in Gainesville, and he was sitting there with a towel the whole time. And I was like, okay, listen, it's got to be bad if Lomas has to have like a towel with him at the time. It was miserable, but again, you know what? It was for a great cause, and it's always nice to put on my golf attire. Shep, you know me, I love to dress up.
So Shawn freaked me out. Just so people know, I finished the show 11-1 with Stick. I go inside the clubhouse to cool off a little bit, grab a Wahlburger, which is the first time I've had it, and it was really good.
Solid. I agree.
I come outside, and I'm talking to some people, and I hear somebody behind me, and I turn around, and it's Shawn. But I didn't think it was Shawn. It's the only time, one of the only times, probably count on one hand, and that includes tonight, right now. I don't know why you're doing this to me again, where he didn't have a hat on, okay? That he didn't have a dip in. It's one thing seeing Shawn without a dip. It's another thing seeing him without a hat and dressed in golf attire. I mean, this guy wore a sweatshirt to his wedding. So I'm confused. I was totally confused when I turned around. I paused for just a moment, a pregnant moment. It's almost like a comedian waiting for the laugh. And I looked at him and I had to reassure myself that it actually was Shawn Belegian. But I'll be damned, it was.
I love dressing up. Man. Like, honestly, I feel nude without a suit and tie on. I feel nude without a suit.
Well, you are corporate. You're a corporate guy.
It makes me sick.
Yeah.
Hunter, coach knows me well. Sweatshirt and slippers. David said the air is rare this week. It's time for college football. Eric said, "What's up, Shep?" I enjoyed week 0. They ended up being good games. In particular, I don't know how many people wasted time watching the SMU game. SMU to come roaring back the way they did in the fourth quarter was shocking because, I mean, that game was so bad. I was flipping channels and everything, but it was like, Shep, honest to goodness. I joked, I put out a text or tweet or whatever the hell it's called. And I said, life feels normal again. Like I feel
saw that, yeah. With the big TV. Yeah. I saw that.
Yeah.
I didn't look, I'm not going to lie. I was on the banks of Lake Huron up north, and I was relaxing and enjoying and staying away from a little bit of the sports on TV. I did watch the Lions preseason game, which is another topic. But when I saw your tweet, I said, Sean's in heaven right now. It can now begin. Here we go.
Well, you know, you make a bunch of food. Like we made way too much. We probably made enough food for like 20 people. We had 5 people over the house. But having college football back, it is. And Shep, like honestly, for me, the cider mill opened. You know, our neighborhood cider mill, Parmenter's, which I think has the best cider, open in the morning. There's just It's funny because like when you're a kid, you always, summer, and then something happens somewhere along the line. Man, the fall is magical. And I know for guys like you and I, you get really busy in the fall. You got to go do this, you got to go do that, etc. But there's no place I'd rather be than in this great state in the fall. I am serious. We are so blessed to have the seasons and the amount of football out there and the Friday night lights and the Saturdays on campus and the Lions. It really is a magical time.
Yeah, there's a different feel, isn't it? Like you go onto the campus of Michigan State University in the fall and you see all the change of the colors and you feel that brisk air and you think to yourself, this is the best time of the year. Now, I think the best time is right as you get a little bit of summer and a little bit of fall at the same time. But man, when you get the change of colors and you get that kickoff and you smell the grills and you hear the passion that people have at their tailgates, I don't know if there's a better feeling about that. What I've always appreciated about our area, and look, there's some great sports towns and great sports states, as you and I have discussed in the past, but the balance of professional and collegiate sports in the state of Michigan is pretty awesome.
Yep.
Where you see a lot of people out east in New York, for example, there's no college football there. It's a pro sports city. It's hard to define Detroit or the state of Michigan as either pro or college because of the number of programs, one, the success of those programs, two, and the passion and fan base that all of them, pro and college, have. It's a wonderful luxury to have, don't you think?
Our mutual friend, Bill Keenest, hammers that home. I mean, when you think, Shep, you could make, I don't know, a 100-mile radius, right? And you think of the pro teams, the college teams, the D1, the D2, the D78, and then all the high schools around here. We are pretty lucky. And I know people are going to talk about Ohio, and rightfully so. I'm not diminishing Ohio or Texas or whatever the case may be. But boy, and I know I've told you this before, and I'm not trying to make you blush. You played it at North Farmington, so you knew about Friday Night Lights many, many years ago. Yeah. I'm late to the party. I mean, I'm ashamed to say I didn't really even go to the football games when I was a student there. I just always had something going on a Friday. And man, I'm telling you, Shep, there's no place I'd rather be on a Friday night now. And if I'm not broadcasting a game, you know what? I'll go down the street to where, the hometown team now plays, Northville, or I'll go back to my alma mater, Livonia Stevenson. There's just something about going out on a Friday night that is just right. And I know it's cheesy, but boy, oh boy, it is just a special thing.
Yeah, I don't think it's cheesy at all. I think it's a beautiful tradition. I think it's awesome that you support the local teams and you get to know the parents. There's nothing like going. First of all, there's nothing like playing in it. To see your classmates up in the stands and rooting you on and talking to you in the halls about certain games, and then to go and watch your kids play, which you and I have both done. It's just special. I don't think it's cheesy at all. But it allows you to have a springboard to something, So you get a really cool high school game on a Friday night, a college football game. You could go anywhere in the state of Michigan and find a college football game, and you don't have to travel that far.
Yep.
Like you were talking about Texas, granted, but it's a long way between a lot of Texas schools.
No question.
You know what I mean? Whereas we're pretty fortunate. If we wanted to go see Grand Valley State, the winningest Division II program in the country, it's a 2+ hour, car ride. You wanted to go see Ferris State, who's really good. You want to go see Western Michigan, Central, Eastern. Those are things that we have at our fingertips that I think is wonderful for everybody to take advantage of and hopefully support not just the big guys of Michigan and Michigan State, but some of those mid-major programs too.
My buddy Tim Givens, watching us up in lovely Hancock, said there is nothing like a band playing at a high school / college game. I could not agree with you more. And I will add one to that. Northville High School on special occasions will bring the band to the hockey rink. And it just brings, Shep, think Yost. It just brings a complete different vibe to it, man. It's just like, okay, this place is hopping. I mean, for ambiance, you can't beat that.
Or going to, how about going to the concession stand and seeing, mom from around the corner selling you a hot dog and chips and a pop or whatever like that. Watching the JV team, watch the varsity team, watch that band go out there. And even though they may not be perfectly in tune, they're practicing every single day. The little things that make you really appreciate it. I think it's awesome.
No doubt.
So kudos to you for going to the local stuff. So speaking of football, you got a Lions team right now. They have waived Donovan Peoples-Jones. You and I chatted a little bit at Detroit Golf Club earlier today. Not a huge surprise.
No.
I think we both agree that last wide receiver spot is going to come from somebody else's team.
Yep.
So they cut the leading tackler from the preseason. They've cut a few people. Zylstra as one of the tight ends. Zonovan Knight has been cut. There's still more cuts to be made. But now that the preseason is over, now that you've seen a lot of the cuts, but not all, what was your impression of the Lions during the preseason overall? And did Hendon Hooker convince you that he's deserved number 2?
I think he emerged as QB2. I'm going to say again, Shep, if something catastrophic happens, like your season's in all likelihood over anyway. I know there are examples, Nick Foles, Jeff Hostetler, etc. But I'm a firm believer in look, if something catastrophic happens in the National Football League to your starting quarterback, your season's probably over. And I would say the same thing. I would not rely on Hendon Hooker to get to the Lions where we all want them to be. And many of us expect them to be. And I'm not joking. I really do think this is a Super Bowl or bust type of situation. But the big question is this. If Jared Goff misses, God forbid, even 3-4 games, is Hendon Hooker the type of guy with what he has at his disposal, the ones around him, and that unbelievable offensive line, dare I say, Shep, the best offensive line in the National Football League, is he good enough to get a couple of wins, to go 2-1?
I think he is. It's not a knock on him. It's not a knock on him. It's more of a trust and a belief in the team in general. And you just mentioned it. When you have an offensive line that is this good, widely considered the best in the National Football League, to help protect him, but maybe more importantly, help him ease into it by creating a very good running game, including him running the football, I think he can do it. Would I want him out there starting 4 games? No. If you said he had to start a couple, I'd feel pretty good about it. Yep. I didn't like some of his passes against the Steelers, some what I would consider routine passes for quarterbacks. Not that they're easy passes, but when you're looking and you've got a first read and it's a little flare or it's a little out, and you don't have to throw over anybody, you should be able to connect on that. You should not be throwing it high to your tight end. When you've got a slant on the backside and your receiver has him burnt, you should not be throwing it on the back shoulder. You should be leading it. There's just a couple that you get nitpicky about. But overall, I like the fact that he brings a different dimension than what your starter, Jared Goff, brings. And I think that's a positive. I'm not big into, look, he's our 3rd round pick, so you got to play him, and he's got to be the number 2. No, I want to play the guy who earns it.
100%.
Who's the best option? Forget your heart. Think with your head. Who's the best option? And I think, at least from what we've seen, because Nate Sudfeld hasn't blown us away, Hooker is that option. But that said, Shawn, I haven't been at practice. Sometimes coaches feel like practices are just as important. I'll leave that up to, obviously Ben Johnson, Dan Campbell, and the rest to determine whether or not he is indeed the number 2.
And I want to get into that because as good as things are right now, and they are, I'm not trying to be a stick in the mud. I think it's very important to look at things the way they are. Mm-hmm. And yes, things are good, but there are a lot of questions with this team. And let's face it, there are a lot of questions in this division. I think the Packers are going to be deadly. I really do. And maybe I'm overselling them. But Shep, you can tell me that. I want to get to a couple comments and let me tell you about All About Catering. Hey, listen, maybe you want to have a big event this fall, and you just want to watch the football games. Enter All About Catering. All About Catering LLC is a full-service caterer. Graduations, weddings, bridal showers, corporate events, anything you need catering for from 25 to 4,000 people. All About Catering can and will take care of you. Customer service and satisfaction is the number one goal, so do not sweat your next big event. Just go to allaboutcateringllc.com today to see their menus and all their 5-star reviews, or give them a call, 586-731-1398 to get your event started. Pete said good things. The Lions have a bunch of primetime games, so you can still make those cider mill trips. Amen to that. Mm-hmm. Another Pete Spivak, you're familiar with his work, one of our buddies at Woodward. I saw his name. Shout out to you, Pete. And I thought of a question that was asked of me today on the show. Somebody said, how do you feel about the secondary? And you know what my answer was? I don't know.
Yeah.
Because, Shep, I don't. I don't. And that's okay. I trust Brad Holmes. Brad Holmes saw that the secondary that was not good enough. Okay. So right. I don't know how the rookies are going to work. I don't know how this is going to, but what I'm going to do is I'm willing to take a leap of faith with a guy like Brad Holmes. He deserves that. And unfortunately now the preseason slate is such that a lot of the questions that maybe even would get answered 20, 30 years ago, Shep, they're just not getting answered in the preseason. I mean, to say that the NFL puts a very, very low priority on the preseason slate would be an understatement.
Yeah, and good for you for saying I don't know, because I don't think anybody does.
Mm-hmm.
I think there's too many times in our business now where everybody feels like, well, I've got to have a definitive answer. It's okay to say, I'm going to play a little wait and see. I like the fact that Brian Branch has moved to safety. I think that strengthens them for sure. I like the acquisition of Carlton Davis, but my hope is that he hasn't lost too many steps.
Right.
I believe Terrion Arnold will be an impactful player eventually. Does that mean he will be against the Rams right away when Matthew Stafford starts to pick on him with whomever, Cooper Kupp, Puka Nacua? I don't care. He's going to struggle. I'm prepared for that. There are going to be times where you're like, man, it happened with Darius Slay. It happens with most corners. Sauce Gardner is a bit of an exception to the rule. Most corners have a struggling period of time making that transition. That's okay. I think they're going to overcome that. I don't know about the secondary either. It sure seems faster. It sure seems more athletic, but I don't think anybody can answer that question, not even the coaches yet, because they have a really good feeling about it because of the trust factor you were talking about, what they've seen in practice. But we all know it's a lot different in practice with live bullets.
Yeah, good point, buddy Pete. Spivak, Sud's not a better athlete at quarterback, but maybe the better NFL brain until Hooker learns more. Jerry said, is there any team with a QB2 that matters as much as a QB1? This seems like it's football silly season. I couldn't agree with you more, Jerry. I always look at people making exceptions to the rule arguments, and it makes me laugh. And again, Shep, I'm going to repeat it. Yes, I'm familiar with Jeff Hostetler. I remember it well. Yes, I'm familiar not that long ago with Nick Foles. I will feel very, very confident in saying, if you're, and a guy by the name of Tom Brady, I might add, I will feel very, very confident in saying that far more often than not, if your QB1 goes down, Okay. It's not like your QB2 is going to come out there and be a knight in shining armor and save the day. Stop the bleeding. Hopefully he won't let the team bleed too much until the normal guy gets done or fixed, as it were. And for my money, if it's something catastrophic, you're in essence throwing your season away.
Yeah, you're right. There are exceptions. The Kurt Warner, obviously, exception that was, Hollywood-esque. I think there are some teams that I don't know if there's much of a drop off. Like if Russell Wilson's the starter in Pittsburgh and he gets bumped and you have to bring in Justin Fields, okay. If you're looking at Kirk Cousins in Atlanta and he happens to get hurt and Michael Penix comes in, it just accelerates the learning curve. But there's a reason he was a first round pick. I'm not saying that he could lead Atlanta to the playoffs like Kirk Cousins could, but you understand my point there with quarterback too. I'm going to say this for probably the 2,500th time in my broadcasting career. There just aren't that many good quarterbacks in the world.
No.
Nope. So there's not 32, let alone 64, okay, or let alone 96. There just aren't out there. But when you have one and you have a really good one, you take care of him, you make sure you sign him, you keep him happy, you give him weapons, and he could lead you to what you hope will be the promised land.
Isn't it fun? Joe brings up, remember when the Niners had Young backing up Montana? That's what we need. Isn't that, I mean, think about that. You had 1 year, Young backing up Montana, and then the next year, Montana backed up Young, and everybody and their brother knew that Joe Montana had game left in him, and went to Kansas City and proved it for 2 years. It really was phenomenal. Boy, those days are just long gone. You know, that the heir apparent, the guy in waiting. Yeah. You've seen Green Bay do it a few times, and obviously it's worked out. But more often than not, Shep, that's an era that's long gone in the National Football League.
Yeah. I think when you're seeing more first-round quarterbacks taken, I think because the advancement at the collegiate level of the position, the offense is played, and the defense is faced. Not as advanced as the NFL, of course, but I think the transition is getting a little bit more comfortable, not easier, but more comfortable for a lot of those first-round picks. More organizations are going, you know what? Let's see what we got in this kid, or this kid has come in and been better than we thought, or as good as what we have right now. So I think that's a big reason why you're seeing some of that transition. Are there some really good? Yeah, you and I both know there's some good backup quarterbacks, right? Marcus Mariota is an okay player. He's going to back up Jaden Daniels in Washington. Will there be some drop off between certain players? Will there be, certain vets who are taking a back seat and don't like it because of the young guys? Yeah, and those teams are probably in pretty good shape. But I agree with you. I mean, basically, what you're trying to do is you're trying to win while teach that young player while he's getting his feet wet and learning on the job.
Yeah, no doubt. Listen, I want to get your thoughts on the division in just a second. Listen, the dropping of the pants all around the nation over the Bears is just shocking to me. I got to be honest with you. Let's talk about our buddies at the Wealth Advantage Group. And if you are ready to take charge of your financial future, look no further than the Wealth Advantage Group, located in historic downtown Northville, owned by the Hanson brothers right there. Jeff and Mike Husak, with over 20 years of industry experience, they understand that your financial goals are as unique as you are. That's why they offer personalized expert guidance to help you navigate the complexities of financial planning. Now, whether you're saving for retirement, you're getting ready to sell your company, already in retirement, they can help guide you through every step of your financial journey. They work with clients throughout all stages of life and have clients in over 20 states. The investment world, it is a complex one. And if you're ready to start taking your finances more seriously, it might be time to work with the experts. Reach out to my friends at the Wealth Advantage Group. That's 248-773-8574. Visit their website at www.thewealthadv.com. Thank you, Eric. Yes, I cut my hair. I went hippie for a while. And then, Shep, I forgot what a hassle it is. Like all the upkeep and all that. And I just decided to cut it all off. So it worked out well. Shep, what are your thoughts on, I don't know. thank you. I don't know if you and I have ever had this guy, Hard Knocks. I'm not a big Hard Knocks fan. I think you and I have been to camp 1,000 times. I see how camp is. I see how the lights are on and how guys act when the lights are on at Hard Knocks. I'm just not a big fan of it, but the Hard Knock effect is real. Whoever gets shown on Hard Knocks, all of a sudden there are a lot of people around the country saying, ooh, look out for the Jets. Look out for the Lions. Look out for the Bears. I get it. The Bears made some moves, but I'm a firm believer that a rookie quarterback is going to do rookie quarterback things. And there are going to be limitations with a team like the Chicago Bears, especially with the Lions and the Packers in this division.
Yeah, Bears got a lot of talent. The only thing I would say to the Hard Knocks, I do believe it's real, but not for the Giants. The Giants went through Hard Knocks off-season, which I found fascinating. How they prepared for the draft, some of their conversations about Saquon Barkley, conversations on whether or not they go for a quarterback or do they help Daniel Jones, and obviously they did with Malik Neighbors. And now, but you're right. I mean, the Bears Hard Knocks, because of what Caleb Williams has done and what he's shown and what players have said, what coaches have said to him, and you hear the interaction, I think it's real too. I will say this. I've been really impressed with him during the preseason. If you've watched him a little bit, he's been really impressive. I don't know what to take out of that because he's not playing against ones. I don't know if they're showing everything to him anyway. I would expect, just like any other rookie quarterback, for him to struggle a little bit. I think the reason that so many people are high on it, first of all, the hell of a preseason that he's had, the weapons he has offensively are really impressive. You know, when you got DJ Moore and Rome Odunze's been a really good player, and then they bring in Keenan Allen.
Yeah.
So really impressive. And then, of course, their defense. I mean, their defense is going to keep them in games. So I think all that together, that conglomerate of things, is a reason people are high on the Bears. It doesn't mean people think they're better than the Lions. You brought up the Packers earlier. I'm a little confused at that. I think we remember, oh my God, what they did to the Cowboys, and I get it. But how much better are the Packers this year than last, do you think? Because I'm not a believer that just because you were here last year and you're going to go here the next year, I don't buy that, especially in the NFL. You know that.
I look at the progression, and it's interesting because Chris brings up the anti-Shawn point. I'll get to Chris first. He said, I feel the same way about the Packers. I think teams now have a year's worth of tape on Love. He may see a step back this year. Then next year, he'll be dangerous. I watched that kid improve in real time last year. I mean, I think obviously we remember Thanksgiving, and then he had a couple of down games. And then, as you mentioned, the Dallas game, and he was all kinds of dangerous in that Frisco game as well. I think Reed is a rock solid wide receiver. I saw him in East Lansing, and I think a lot of people can vouch for that. Yeah, I think that they are a very dangerous team because of that explosive nature. And again, we saw that on Thanksgiving, just like and then they followed that up with Dallas. You're right. It might be that's just fresh on my brain. I openly admit it. That's just fresh on my brain. But I saw a team that, especially come playoff time, we know what they did to Dallas. And they gave Frisco everything they could handle. I mean, for a while there, I kind of thought, oh, my gosh, it's going to be the Lions and the Packers in the championship game. Are you kidding me?
I thought, well, Lions are going to host one. When somebody says, I think, the teams have kind of, gone to school and picked up film on Jordan Love. They do that anyway. Mm-hmm. They're doing that last year. There's nothing revolutionary, I don't think, based off last year that's going to be changing this year. I think personnel matters, of course, but it's not like they're taking a week getting ready for the Packers and saying, we don't know what Jordan Love has. They've got plenty of tape on him. They can prepare for that stuff, no problem whatsoever. I just don't know. Like as I said before about the Bears, I'm a big believer in their defense. I think they've got some really tough SOBs, and I like what they're doing. They've got a lockdown corner. They can bring the pressure. I think they're pretty damn good defensively. I think that's really going to help a guy like Caleb Williams to keep him in games. And it'll be fascinating for me. Fascinating when you watch the Lions offense against that Bears defense. That will be their litmus test twice this season.
Bill said Shawn went to Bo Ricks. No, I went to Lady Jane's. Come on. Come on. You know that, Bill.
Either way, he got it comped.
Yeah, are the Jets are the Jets with Rodgers going to make noise? Does he have anything left to make an impact? I don't know at what point in time it happened for me, Shep, and I'm sure it happened for you. I went from going boo hiss to just appreciating the fact that Aaron Rodgers was one heck of a quarterback. As much as
I
I had
hated
disdain
him.
for him. What's that?
Yeah, you have a lot of disdain for him. I always thought, right?
I did.
Yeah.
And but you know what? Both things can be true. Boo hiss, and
Yeah.
he's an incredible quarterback.
Yeah, that's true. That's true. Yeah, absolutely.
I still worry about the line. I mean, you have to be worried about that line. I mean, the big question is,
Their defense is good.
Yeah. How bad was that line last year? And we saw that right away, and that was the big story in Hard Knocks. Did they improve it? And is he going to be a statue? I mean, I don't care what Father Time catches up to everybody, man.
Absolutely.
And Shep, I know just from doing dumb things at the gym, like what happened? Oh, I took a piss and pulled a hamstring. Like that's what happens to guys our age now, you know.
I took a walk on the beach on Lake Huron, and the top of my foot is in pain right now.
Isn't that weird?
About 4 miles. Yeah, it's weird. I would say this. I think with their defense, and I think they've got some good offensive weapons. They've added to their offensive line, although be it a rookie. I do think Rodgers makes a difference. He's obviously not as mobile as he used to be. He can still spin it, and that's huge. And I think more than important than anything else is his brain. What he can do in reading defenses and manipulate coverages, I think is just absolutely brilliant. And I think that's a big reason, not to mention the fact it's not a great division, Shawn.
No.
Right? So being with all those factors, I think that's why so many people have the Jets being one of those teams who didn't make the playoffs last year, but will make it this year.
Pete Spivak said Matt Eberflus and his staff are the absolute key to the Bears' success. Hard Knocks made me more of a fan of Eberflus, and bringing over Shane Waldron from Seattle at OC is a reason to fear the Bears. Shep, you probably got a chance to chat with Matt in the past. He was with the Toledo Rockets for a few years. I remember him when I was there. And I honestly vividly remember Gary Pinkel telling me that young looking guy in the corner was going to be a head coach one day.
Really?
And, yeah. Honest to goodness. Probably 1996, 1997. Very, very quiet guy. He was just always one of those guys that he seemed to be working, where other
coaches. He played for Saban, right? He played for Saban.
Yeah, he played for Saban, and then he coached under Pinkel. Gotcha. And, other coaches, Tom Amstutz would come up to you, Dave Christensen, a bunch of names that I'm sure you remember from your time at Eastern. Eberflus was never like that. He'd say hi. It wasn't like he was unfriendly. I don't want to, get that out there. But he was just, you could tell he was always laser focused, and it was just on to the next thing. And like I said, Coach Pinkel told me, he goes, he's going to be head coach one day. Now,
that's pretty cool.
I'm not sure he meant NFL, but guys see that in certain guys. Guys see that in certain guys. They just go, that guy's going to be a coach one day, and evidently that was his DNA, so to speak.
Yeah, I think there are certain characteristics. It's interesting. Today I was asking Irving Fryar how important it is to play for somebody who is actually coached, or who has played, I should say, in the NFL. So a guy like Dan Campbell, a guy like Aaron Glenn, right? Antoine Randall L. There are certain players. Do you have to coach, or do you have to have played in the NFL in order to coach? No. Some of the greatest coaches of all time weren't necessarily players at the highest level. We could talk about Jim Leland. We could talk about Scotty Bowman, right? We could talk about a lot of different coaches who have done it. But I think where Detroit has a little bit of an advantage is Dan Campbell knows, Antoine Randall L., Aaron Glenn, they know what it's like to rest the body and rest the mind. And I think that's really important. And when you've got a veteran-laden team, or you got a team that's accomplished as much as the Lions did a year ago, played deep into a season, resting them for the preseason, knowing when to give them certain days off, giving that incentive, I think is huge. Yeah, and I think that's where it really works for them.
Isn't that amazing? I mean, even Bill Belichick. I mean, he was a guy that played a little college football, but he didn't come close to the National Football League. And if you ask him, he would have told you lacrosse was his favorite sport. I mean, that's
right, because he coached lacrosse while he was here, right?
Isn't that amazing how that works out? You know?
Yeah. I mean, look, we love Chuck Daly here, right?
Yeah.
Remember Chuck Daly in the NBA? Neither
Mhm.
do I. Okay, it's not like he was tossing it into Ken Benson. There's one for you.
Bill said Shawn looks like the kind-hearted dad on a bad NBC sitcom. If I had Shep's good looks, I'd get more ass than a toilet seat.
No, you wouldn't.
I'm like, Alf, you're not eating that kitty cat, Alf. I'm like, Willie Tanner? Come on, Bill.
Shawn Tool time. That'd be fantastic.
Yeah, Tim said absolutely not. The Jets will do Jet things. Joe said you need orthotics, Shep. Maybe that's the key. Get those orthotics as you're walking on the beach, right?
I don't know. Then you've just accepted your age, and I don't know if I can do that yet.
No, it's, you know what, Shep? I'm a big believer in what Clint Eastwood said. Don't let the old man in. Like, just don't let him in. You know, there are days I get up and I'm like, all right, I don't want to go to the gym today, but if I don't go to the gym, that's me opening the door to the old man. You know what, John? Why did you sit down on the couch? It's like, Dad, it's you. And I don't need that. I don't need that.
I thought you were going to say something about, well, do you, punk? Feel like it today?
Right. Let's talk about Legacy for a second. Did you know that thousands of Metro Detroiters have already called Legacy Partners to get help with their home and auto insurance? Our friends at Legacy Partners are one of Southeast Michigan's top independent insurance agents. They provide a full-service, one-stop, that's key, one-stop solution for all of your insurance needs, personal and business, large and small. Legacy has helped our listeners by fixing mistakes other agents have made, asking the right questions to get the right coverage put in place to properly protect you, and yes, help save you some money. Chances are, if you haven't checked your policies in the last year, you're probably paying too much and you could be underinsured. What are you waiting for? Give Legacy Partners a chance to help with your home, your cars, life insurance, Medicare enrollment, your business insurance needs. I can vouch for it. One stop. They took care of everything and saved me some money. They'll do the same for you. Call them today, 586-209-4106, or visit legacypartnersins.com to get started with your new quotes. Look at this. People are so nice, Shep. Orange insoles, brand inserts for your shoes. There you go.
Beautiful. That's beautiful. But you don't wear shoes on the beach. All right, I've got another one for you real quick before we say goodbye.
All right.
Anthony Edwards is a really good basketball player, right?
Mm-hmm.
He's a young guy. He's one of the young superstars, just helped the Team USA win a gold medal. You heard what he said about the old timers, right? When somebody from, I don't know if it was the Wall Street Journal or New York Times, somebody asked him a question about whether or not some of the dream teamers could play. And he said, really, Michael Jordan was the only one who had a super skill set. Magic Johnson took offense to it. Isaiah Thomas took offense to it as well. Are we noticing where a young man who doesn't know his history like he should is playing that bravado card a little bit too much while dissing some of the greatest players the sport has ever seen? And is it kind of falling into a territory where some of you may just be like, you know what, I don't like that dude. I appreciate how athletic he is and the athleticism, but some of the crap that he's saying and dissing some of the greatest players of all time and some of our favorite players to ever play the game, I'm done.
I don't get it. I told you I don't get the generational arguments. And I remember years ago, people even taking shots at Lucas and Bob Cousy and things like that. Shep, I say it all the time. I don't talk about guys I didn't see. All right. I've watched film, but I'm not going to sit down. Look, I'd love to have a conversation about Howie Morenz. Really, I would. Or Phantom Joe Malone. I never saw him play, so I know things about him. So I stick with guys that I saw. And Bill brought this up. LeBron is the GOAT. Can we finally end this silly debate? Bill, you're never going to get me to say it. Right, just me personally. I'm as phenomenal as he is. And I think the sad problem about debates like this is it always devolves into that which you just said, Shep. It's almost like instead of propping one up, you have to dog the other one. And I just think that's silly. I I think that's silly. I can say that what LeBron has done to play until the age of 40 and to be as good as he is,
Right.
tip of the cap. I mean, my
Absolutely.
gosh, he has to go into the conversation. I cannot say with a clear conscience that there was somebody better than Michael Jordan. And it pains me. I'm not I was one of those guys. I said Magic forever, Magic skill set, and the fact that he could go play center and he could do something. And Bill, I don't know how old you are. I don't know if you saw Michael Jordan. You're not wrong. I'm not going to tell you you're wrong.
Yeah.
But just for me, Michael Jordan's the best player I ever saw.
Yeah, it's your opinion. Who's to tell Bill that he's wrong? But don't tell me that I can't at least bring up an argument or have a conversation about not just one, but two guys. Okay. I would actually throw Kobe Bryant in there.
Mm-hmm.
So for me, Jordan and Kobe Bryant and LeBron James. Now, I haven't covered LeBron later on in his career, but I covered him early in his career. I covered Michael Jordan and I covered Kobe Bryant. And all three of them, are you going to tell me that you could go wrong with any three? The answer to that is no. There are certain reasons why you pick one guy over the other. I'm not going to tell you you're wrong, but I do enjoy a good debate about that once in a while. And by the way, folks, that's really hard for Shawn and I to admit because I don't like Michael Jordan, period. But like you were saying earlier, it's okay to say you don't like him, but you still respect how great he was.
Yeah.
But some of the things that he's done, some of the things he did against the Pistons, some of the things he said against the Pistons, I think were unwarranted. And thus, I would say, you know what? I don't like him. But that doesn't mean I don't think he's the best basketball player I've ever seen. I would rank him 1, Kobe Bryant 2.
Yeah, it's interesting because I think, and I like some of these conversations because as a recovering stataholic, and I'm a recovering stataholic. I used to be one of those people that said, numbers tell the whole story. No, they don't. Numbers don't tell the whole story.
No, they don't.
They just don't. I mean, that's the way it is. And there are other variables that come into play, right? And okay, then do we get into the championship story? And then, well, what if this guy didn't win a championship? Does that mean that Dan Marino was less of a quarterback than Trent Dilfer? I mean,
Right.
so and it goes too wild. And that's why I think conversations like this are funny. I'm not going to dog LeBron James as much as I dislike LeBron James, and I do. Oh, I dislike LeBron James. Shame on him for ever bringing the term load management into the popular vernacular. Like, shame on him. It's disgusting. It's gross. I can't dog his game. I can't.
I can't either. I'm with you on that. Look, I mean, if it's all about specific numbers, we always go back to this, but you can always make the argument for different exceptions to rules. If that's the case, there's, Tiger Woods is not the greatest golfer of all time. Jack Nicklaus is, because he finished with the most majors and the most runners up in majors, right? Bill is diehard LeBron. He says, look, he could miss the next 3,636 shots and still have a higher field goal percentage than MJ. Drop the mic, fellas. Well, okay. Michael Jordan never lost in a championship series. LeBron James has. Michael Jordan doesn't finish a fourth quarter in Olympic gold medal game the way LeBron James did with 2 points, 4 turnovers. Michael Jordan is, and I don't want to keep making, reasons why he's the greatest of all time, but you can use a lot of different measuring sticks for your argument. Bill's got his, you and I may have ours. Who's to say which one is better? It's just an opinion, and that's okay to have. No,
that's 1,000%. I don't have, somebody brought up, I know jokingly, Tim said, oh, all right, well, if numbers tell the whole story, Emmitt Smith's the greatest running back of all time. Right? I just,
if numbers tell the story, Tua Tagovailoa was the best quarterback last year since he threw for the most yards.
Yeah.
Or Dak Prescott because he threw for the most touchdowns. Now, the only thing I would disagree is that I would disagree with Eric, who says LeBron sucks. I don't think.
Yeah, I'm not going there.
I don't think he sucks. Yeah, I don't think he sucks by any stretch.
I will confess, and I think I told you this, Bill, earlier in the year. My respect for LeBron James continues to go up because he did one thing that guys back then didn't do. He stayed at a high level, a very high level, 38, 39, 40 years old. And that's that brings a new element into the conversation. And again, if you're going to be fair and have these conversations, those are the kinds of things that you have to bring up. There's no doubt about it.
Yeah, hey, look, he's changed the conversation of what it's like to be that consistent. As far as an athlete himself, I mean, outside of maybe Tom Brady, but outside of an athlete himself, I mean, how do you argue with that?
No.
How good he has been for
Can't.
that extended period of time.
Yep.
Amazing.
All right, I'm going to tell you about Lindsey Broadwell, and then I need to pack a dip. Listen, when it's time to get yourself a new house, you're buying, you're selling, both, you need the right agent. There she is, Lindsey Broadwell. Your house is probably the biggest investment you'll ever make, and that's why you need a pro. Lindsey grew up on the mean streets of Northville and has expanded her team all over Southeast Michigan. She's an expert in all facets of the business, and when it's time to move, our friend Lindsey and her team will make sure you get the most out of your house and everything goes smoothly when finding your new home. You're buying, you're selling, even first-time buyers. Make sure you contact Lindsey at BroadwellHomes.com. She'll help you with everything from start to close. Licensed realtor at Real Broker LLC. Start your search today at BroadwellHomes.com. Can I ask you a question, Shep, before we get out of here?
Yep.
And I'm not going to get wrapped up in record this year, because if the Lions went 10-7 and pulled a New York Giants, I couldn't give two craps. But just before we get going, and I know we'll do it again next Monday, because this week, I'm sorry I can't this Thursday because I have some games to call. But where are you feeling right now on where the Lions win-loss is and where they finish in the division?
I always preface this by saying if healthy, because I think when you start losing key players, everything goes out the window.
Yeah.
Right? I think this team is, you and I have talked about this. I expect them to go to Super Bowl. I expect them to win the division. I would argue, I think they're the best team in the NFC right now with the least amount of drama. San Francisco is really good. They've got drama in Williams and Ayuk. Dallas feels like they're really good. Jerry Jones is a raving lunatic right now. Philadelphia has something to prove, granted, but they've got some key guys who have gotten a little bit long in the tooth, who I respect, but a little long in the tooth. I think Detroit is the best team, when healthy, the best team in the NFC. I think they can win another 12 games like they did a year ago. I expect them to have home field advantage. I expect them to go to the Super Bowl if they can stay healthy. And when I say that, I mean they're key pieces.
Yeah.
If you're losing, with all due respect, to Malcolm Rodriguez, if you lose him, that's one thing. I'm not saying that he's not key, because it's important on special teams in certain situations. But I'm talking about key guys. If they lose Penei Sewell for a long period of time, you can't keep me to that word. If they lose Frank Ragnow or Taylor Decker to an extended period of time, please don't keep me to that word and say, "Oh, you said they're going to the Super Bowl." You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
So
Totally.
There are certain guys that mean a little bit more than others. You get my drift.
Mr. Positive says, hello, Shep, and said King Elvis Labrizzi is the GOAT. Mr. Positive, Detroit radio and national radio and TV. Eric said, can I get a 40's not old, Shawn? Absolutely. 40's not old.
No way.
You could, no
40's
way.
Yeah, no way. 40's
No.
young.
Yeah, now it is. My gosh. I mean, the way, like, listen, you have to give credit to these doctors and the fact that, people aren't lazy anymore and get out and ride their bike or skate or go lift or something. Dudes like Shep and I are still doing it in our 50s, man. It's like, you know what? Back in the day, not that long ago, it's time to sit in my lazy boy. And I'm like, no way, man. I'm not going down like that. No way.
You and I saw a certain ex-Packer wide receiver today. He doesn't look close to it. Braylon Edwards is 41 years old. He is jacked.
Unbelievably so. Unbelievably
he
so.
Looks fantastic. I talked about Irving Fryar earlier. He's in his 60s. He looks phenomenal. It's all about what you eat. It's all about what you do during the day, and make sure you get your exercise and get your haircut.
Our buddy Lowe is 61. Lowe looks so good. It's insane. I mean, really, you don't see any gray on him. I mean, he doesn't have an ounce of fat, man. He is a solid, probably 215 pounds, and this is a guy that was huge when he was a lineman. So that's the way it goes. All right, Shep, be good. Enjoy the week. We'll catch up.
Call Thursday, man. Go get him.
Thank you. Appreciate you. Make sure you check out Shep, the morning show. Shep and I will be popping onto Woodward as well, I think, in the next few weeks and beyond. But in the meantime, thank you for watching. We'll see you. Bye-bye.
Shep and Shawn, featuring Matt Shepard and Shawn Belegian. Produced by Todd Losey and Blake Matcherzak. Executive produced by Shawn Belegian and Todd Losey. Theme song, incidental music, and related sound effects are from Still Alive by Anti-Ghost. Engineering, mixing, and graphic design support provided by the Unsyndicated Podcast team. Don't forget to like and subscribe on all your favorite channels. While you're there, be sure to rate and review the podcast. Call the Unsyndicated hotline at 248-237-3257.